I'll record after class. Okay, I will record after class. I'm not going to go through that where it makes my computer do all that crazy stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. In alhamdulillah, wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Today we're going to go over the rules and guidelines and regulations that Allah has set up for us as Muslims in regards to hunting for our meat. The rules for hunting are not the same as they are for slaughtering domesticated animals. Let me make the screen larger. I want you guys to really see the PowerPoint here. Okay, everybody should be able to see. The conditions pertaining to the hunter are the same as the butcher in regards to the person should be a Muslim or a Jew or a Christian. In other words, remember, Allah made it clear that we can only eat the meat of the people of the book. So that means the butcher or the hunter must be a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew. So that condition remains the same. And also Islam teaches us that as a hunter, it is forbidden for us as Muslims to hunt just for the sport of it. In other words, Islam forbids us from taking the life of an animal without the intention of eating it or making benefit from its skin or its fur. And this is what I was telling you guys yesterday. You shouldn't feel bad about killing an animal to eat because that's what they were created for. They were created to provide food, clothing, and shelter for us. It's when you kill an animal just for the fun of it. That's when the animal dies a bad death, and that animal will witness against you on the day of judgment. And my evidence, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if someone kills a bird just for the sport of it, that bird will cry out on the day of judgment saying, "Oh Allah, that person killed me in vain. He did not kill me for any useful purpose." So this is why I tell you guys, this, to say that you are a vegetarian, this is ridiculous. This really goes against Islamic belief because you're saying that you believe what vegetarians believe, that to kill an animal is inhumane. To kill an animal is cruel. To eat an animal is cruel and barbaric. When Allah clearly tells us that's the reason why he created them and put them here for us to eat and make use of. Also in another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever kills a sparrow or anything larger than that without a just cause, Allah will hold the person accountable on the day of judgment. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this, the people who were around him they said, "Oh Prophet, what do you mean by just cause?" The Prophet said, just cause is that you kill it to eat it, not just to kill it and throw it away. So again, you should not feel bad about having to hunt or slaughter an animal because that's what they're here for. But if you're one of those people shooting BB guns or you like to go hunting just for the sport of it, you have a lot to worry about then because you're taking the animal's life without it serving its purpose. So, the two conditions for hunting. Number one, the hunter must be a person of the book. And number two, he cannot hunt just for the sport of it. And then there's a third condition. And that condition is that the Muslim should not be in the state of ihram. That means you should not be making hajj or umrah in the process, the state of consecration when you're making hajj. And when you go to make hajj or umrah, whoever your hajj or umrah guide is will tell you, make sure understand that you cannot hunt once you put on and go into the state of ihram, okay? if you are making Hajj and an animal should appear right in front of you and you could catch it with your spear, it's not permissible to do so. And Allah does that to test us and teach us self-restraint. Okay, as Allah himself tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation, the meaning, O you who believe, do not kill game while you are in the state of ihram. And hunting is forbidden for you while you are in the state of ihram. So that's another condition. If you're going to be a hunter and you're going to go hunting for meat, you cannot be, performing Hajj, make it in that the state of consecration to make Hajj. Okay? And another condition, not only must you be Muslim, not only must you not be in a state of ihram, and not only must you not be hunting for the sport of it, but the game that you're hunting must be an animal that is wild, an animal that cannot be brought down with a simple knife to slaughter. In other words, for example, here in America, we don't go hunting for cows. We don't go hunting for goats in America. You can go hunting for a deer because deer are wild animals. They live out in the wild. Ducks, wild geese. Geese are wild animals. They live out in the wild. Okay? But we don't go say, I'm going hunting, and you go out in the pasture and shoot a cow. No. And also, Islam allows us to go hunting with animals. You can have a hunting dog even. But if you do hunt with a dog, we have to understand there's rules for that too. For example, if you shoot an arrow at the animal, or if your hunting dog catches the animal and brings it down, as long as you reach the animal while there is still abundant life remaining in it, then you cut its throat. So say, for example, you're hunting with your dog. The dog catches the deer, brings the deer down, and when you get close up on the deer is still living, then you just go for the throat or the jugular vein or the windpipe to take it out of its misery. Or say, for example, we don't use bow and arrows much. We use guns. You're hunting. You have your rifle or your shotgun with you. You shoot a deer. The deer runs off, but you follow its trail and you find it lying on the ground and it's still breathing. Then you take your knife and slice its throat or his jugular vein or its windpipe. Does everybody understand? Okay? And it's and even though cutting the throat is preferable, if it is barely alive and the hunter leaves it to die without cutting the throat, there is no harm in it. So it's best to cut the throat. But say, for example, you shoot the deer with your rifle and you get up on it, it's still living, it's not all the way dead, but something happens. Say, for example, the person you're hunting with calls you out. Hey, I need help. Come here. Come here, Brother Abdul. Help me with this. And you run off to go help that brother and the animal dies, it's okay. And you didn't cut its throat, it's okay. See how merciful Allah is, guys. Allah makes the religion easy for us because he knows that things happen. Hunting is a sport, and it's a dangerous sport. You could be sitting there and another animal's coming at you. You have to get out the way. You don't have time to slice that deer's throat. Okay? So now bring the proof. Well, here's the evidence. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you send your dog out for the chase, mention the name of Allah. And if he catches the game and you reach it while it's still alive, cut its throat. So there's your evidence. Okay, like in this picture, the dog catches the geese. You get to it, the geese is still living, go ahead and take its throat, if you can. But if something happens and If somebody calls for help and you got to leave right quick, then don't worry about it. And again, the same rule that we have with slaughter, instruments of hunting fall in two categories. Weapons such as a sword, an arrow, a spear. You can hunt with any of these things because these are weapons that pierce the skin and make the animal bleed. Allah says in the Quran, in the interpretation of the meaning, in the game which you take with your hands and your spears. So that's the first category of weapons we can use. Weapons such as a sword, an arrow, or a spear. Also, hunting animals, which can be trained, such as a dog or a leopard or a falcon. You can also hunt using, to be honest, guys, any animal, basically, can be trained to hunt. I can train my cats to hunt. You can train a falcon or a hawk or an owl to hunt. You can train a tiger, a leopard, and people do that in different parts where they train animals to go hunting for them. If you are using a hunting animal, listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Say, whatever is good is lawful for you, and eat of what is caught for you by those you have trained among your hunting animals, teaching them as Allah has taught you. So even though we cannot have a dog as a pet, we can have a dog that is trained to be a hunting dog. Okay? And if you do have a hunting dog, of course it's kept outside. And if you do have hunting dogs and they hunt with you, when you send them out, say Bismillah. And whatever the animal catches, you can, of course you can eat it. Okay? So again, there's nothing wrong with us going hunting, using an animal to hunt with, such as a bird, a cat, a dog, or whatever. Okay? As long as we follow those guidelines that Allah has specified for us. Also, again, when we talk about the weapons used to hunt with, again, the weapon should be one that will pierce the body of the animal, making a wound that will bleed. And that, in other words, you can't beat an animal to death. We cannot go hunting, catch a deer with your hand and just beat it in its head until it dies. No, you have to use a weapon that will penetrate the skin and make a wound that will bleed. Listen to what one of the companions said. He said, I asked the Prophet about game that we kill with the weapon. He said, if you throw the weapon and it pierces the animal, eat it. But if it is killed by the blow, then don't eat it. So there's the evidence. If you beat an animal to death, you can't eat that. It's not lawful. Whatever you used as a weapon must pierce the skin to make it bleed. Does everybody understand that? So if I took a rock, say I was hunting for ducks, duck hunting. If I picked up a rock and threw it at the duck and the duck fell down to the ground, I can't eat that because the rock just hit it in the head. The rock did not penetrate the skin and make it bleed. But if I take a bow and arrow and shoot the duck, I can eat it then. Or if I take a gun and shoot the duck, I can eat it then because the bullet will pierce the skin and make it bleed, and so does an arrow. So again, animals killed by rifles, pistols, and the likes are lawful because the bullet penetrates the skin even more deeply than a spear or sword or anything like that. See how easy the religion is. guys, we have to be careful when it comes to using rocks. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said throwing stones or throwing rocks will not hunt the game, nor will it kill an enemy. Instead, all it's going to do is break a bone or break a tooth or take out a person's eye. So that's why I was saying we don't hunt with rocks. Whatever we use, it has to penetrate the skin and cause it to bleed. Okay? Also, when hunting with a weapon, again, we must mention the name of Allah when we throw or before we shoot the gun. Just like when the butcher slaughters, he has to mention Allah's name before he cuts the jugular vein. Well, as a hunter, when I aim my gun to the sky to shoot the duck, I say, Bismillah, boom, and pull the trigger. Or if I'm using a bow and arrow, Bismillah, and shoot the arrow. You have to mention the name of Allah when hurling or striking the weapon. Does everybody understand? These are rules. And again, if you're using an animal to hunt with, like a dog or a bird or a cat or whatever, the animal must be a trained animal, a trained hunting animal. Let me first of all explain to you guys what the difference is between having an animal as a pet and having a trained animal. Well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us a trained animal is an animal that is taught to only serve a particular purpose. It is not a pet. You can't play with it. You can't cuddle with it. It's trained to do whatever the specific purpose of having it is. For example, a guard dog. Guard dogs go to school to be trained to be guard dogs. If you make a pet out of them, they will no longer attack. When you see blind people and they have dogs as their guide, they will tell you, don't pat my dog because this is a guide dog. He is trained to be my eyes. If you play with him and pet him, he'll no longer serve his purpose. So that's the difference. So if you're hunting, whatever the animal you're using, being a dog or a cat or whatever, it has to be a trained hunting dog or a trained hunting animal. And also, the animal must hunt for you, not for itself. And again, before you send the animal out, you say Bismillah. So say I'm going hunting with my cat. We get to the ducks, where the ducks are. I tell my cat, okay, go get him, go get one of those birds, Bismillah, and the cat goes off. If the cat catches one of the ducks and eats it for itself, that's not for me. But if my cat catches the duck, kills it, and just sits there with it waiting for me, then it's for me. So let me give you first the evidence from the Quran. Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, if they ask you, Muhammad, what is lawful for them as food, tell them whatever is good is lawful for you, and eat of what is caught for you by those you have trained among hunting animals, teaching them the way Allah has taught you to teach them, and mention the name of Allah over it. So again, I'm going to send my cat out. I'm going to say, go, Karen, go, Bismillah. And the cat will go out to try to take down the bird. And again, train means the animal is under the control of the owner, so that when the animal is called, he responds. And when you send the animal forward, it goes forward. It hunts. It's not a pet. So Karen would be trained. I say, go, Karen. He knows, run out. Get it. Come back, Karen. He comes back and brings the animal. That's a trained animal. And again, that the animal's catching it for you, not for itself. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you send your dog out after an animal and it eats part of it, then you should not eat any of it, because the dog has hunted for itself and not for you. But if you send the dog and it kills the animal without eating it, then you can eat it because he caught it for you. Do you guys see how these are clear evidences? Islam is easy. The lawful and the unlawful has been clearly defined. The Prophet broke it down to us. So if I'm hunting with my cat and I say, go Karen, catch it, Bismillah, he goes out, he takes the bird down, and when I run up to catch up with him, the bird is there and he has not eaten of the bird, then it's for me. I say, good job, Karen, and I take the bird home. But if I get up there and Karen sat there and chewed half his head off, and he's sitting there going for the feet now, the legs or whatnot, no, you hunt it for yourself. So take him home. You can't eat nothing that he catches. So see, these are the clear proofs. And again, always mention Allah's name. Before you send the animal out, before you shoot the arrow, before you throw the spear, before you strike the sword, before you shoot the gun. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, a person said, "Oh Prophet, suppose I send my dog out to catch an animal, but I find that another dog is there too, and I don't know which one of those dogs caught it. I said Bismillah over my dog, but that other dog, the name of Allah wasn't mentioned." The Prophet said, then do not eat it, because you mentioned the name of Allah over your dog. You didn't mention it over the other. So you see the importance, guys, of mentioning the name of Allah. Just like with the meat that is slaughtered, even if it's one of the meat from the people of the book. Remember, Allah says in the Quran, do not eat any meat of which the name of Allah has not been mentioned. So even if you're eating meat from the Christians or the Jews, you say Bismillah before you eat it. Well, the same when hunting. Okay, before you send your animal out, you say Bismillah. Before you shoot your gun, you say Bismillah, because Islam forbids us from eating any meat over which the name of Allah has not been pronounced. But to show how simple the religion is, if you forget to mention Allah's name, then you can make up for it at the time of eating. See the mercy of Allah, guys, because again, Allah has forgiven us of our mistakes and our forgetfulness. So say, for example, you're hunting. I got my cat with me. I say, oh my God, here it comes. Go, Karen. And I forget to say Bismillah. Karen takes the rabbit down. And I say, wait a minute. I don't know if I said Bismillah or not. It's okay. Take the rabbit home and cook it and say Bismillah before you eat it. Hello. Just like you say Bismillah before you eat the meat that you buy from Walmart. When you take the meat from Walmart home and cook it, say Bismillah before you eat it the same way. See how merciful. Guys, Islam is not hard. Islam is easy. But we make it hard on ourselves by putting our own opinions, our own feelings, and all of that into this religion. If we took Islam for what it is, and follow the rules of Allah and the Prophet without adding our own feelings and stuff in it, it wouldn't be so hard to be a Muslim. And maybe we'd have less apostates. You never know. Finally, you may find yourself in a situation as a hunter where you're hunting and you shoot a deer or you shoot an animal and the animal runs away and you can't find it. In fact, you don't find it until a couple of days later. Well, can we eat it in that case? It depends on the following conditions. If you hunt an animal and you find it a few days later, but it's in water, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if it's found in water, you do not know whether the animal died from drowning or if the animal died from your arrow, so don't eat it. So say, for example, I go shopping with Sister Fatima and Sister Zarina and Precious. We all out trying to be, bad women, tough women, and we out hunting. We gonna catch us some deer. Call Sarah and tell her to come join us too and bring Laylee. Laylee's from Afghanistan. She know how to cut them up. So we out here trying to be bad, tough women. So we shoot a deer and we screaming and hollering, woo, woo. Where'd he go? We can't find him. So we keep searching, and when we do find the deer, it's in water. So Zarina says, what do we do now, Sister Layla? Well, we don't know if it died from that gunshot that Fatima gave it, or if it died because Laylee was screaming, or if it died because Sarah was chanting in Chinese, or if it died because it was drowned. So we just gonna leave it. So if if you find the animal in the water, we cannot eat it. But what about this? We search for the deer and we find it and it has no other wounds on it. It's just lying on the ground. We shot it. It's lying on the ground. It has no other wounds. So we know that it died from our bullet because all it's got is the bullet hole in its side that Fatima gave it. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, in that case, if you know that you killed it with your weapon and there's no other wound, then you can take it home and eat it. So we pick it up. Okay, Laylee, we can take this home and eat it. And also the third condition is the animal must not have reached the stage of decay. So say we look for 2-3 days. 3 days later, we find that deer. We have to inspect it to make sure that it has not decayed. If the deer has not decayed, then we can take it home and eat it. So those are the 3 conditions when hunting. You guys see how complete the religion is. You see how the prophet broke everything down, even explained what to do if the animal wanders off and you don't find it till a couple of days later. Our religion is so complete. So thus, those are the fiqh guidelines or the regulations for us Muslims when it comes to hunting. Number 1, whoever is doing the hunting must be a people of the book, either Jewish, Christian, or Muslim. Number 2, you cannot be making Hajj. Number 3, the animal must be a wild animal, not a cow or something like that. Number 4, the weapon you use must be a weapon that will penetrate the animal's skin and cause it to bleed. Number 5, if you're going to take another animal with you to help you in the hunt, that animal must be a trained hunting animal. And it must hunt for you, not for itself. Number 6, we have to mention the name of Allah before sending the hunting animal out and also before shooting the gun. And finally, if the animal that we're hunting is found dead later, it's lawful to eat as long as it's not found in water, as long as it doesn't have any other wounds other than the one you gave it on it, and it has not reached the point of decay. So those are the rules. Abide by them, then it's happy hunting. And again, don't feel bad because the animals, a lot of people say, oh, Layla, you killed Bambi. Girl, Bambi died happy. Bambi died a martyr. Bambi's happy because he served his purpose. Bambi gave his life so Layla, Zarina, Fatima, and Sarah, and Laylee can have some food. And by the way, Laylee getting ready to take his skin to make her some deer skin shoes with. And Sarah wants his horns because she wants to put those horns, make some stuff to use in the house for decoration out of his horns. So Bambi died a martyr. There's no need in feeling bad because the animals are serving their purpose. It's when you hunt for fun. It's when you hunt and kill the animal without a purpose. That's what's cruel. Okay? On that note, we'll stop right here for today.